Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and thank you guys so much for subscribing to this channel. The fact that you guys are leaving comments and liking the videos is really helping a lot. So please make sure to like this video and leave a comment what you guys think, because we're giving a big shout out to Yunzii for sending out the AL75. So they've been doing some really cool things and making really nice budget keyboards, and this is a full aluminum, so let's go straight into unboxing and take a look. So let's start unboxing the AL75. Now, as soon as we open the box, of course, we're going to be greeted with the manual. And the manual is going to have different shortcuts and more information that you're going to need for the keyboard. Now, let's open the accessories box. As soon as you open the accessories box, we're greeted with the extra signature keycaps, which I love that Yunzii does, because it gives you just a little bit more to play around with. The cable, it's not the greatest cable, I'm going to be honest with you. Very cheap looking, to be honest, but you also get 2 extra switches and a keycap puller and a switch puller. Now, once we get the plastic wrap off the keyboard, we're going to see that there's this metal piece that's supposed to be the plate cover for the USB dongle. That sticker is actually incredibly hard to get off, so I'm going to have to do that later on, as it is really hard to rip off. Now, I do love the fact that there is a USB dongle that can go right into the keyboard. I wish a lot more companies did that. It would be really appreciated. And we're going to do the weight, which is going to be about 1.368 kilos, and do a sound test. So let's get right into doing a teardown of the AL75. So there's going to be 8 screws on the back of the keyboard that you're going to have to get open. Make sure you grab the right size. It's going to be like a hexagon, really small. So make sure you have the right size before you do it, and so you don't just strip a screw. Nowadays, there are 2 different types of keyboards you're going to get. It's going to be the ball bearing, or it's with screws. It's going to be really dependent on you, on what you like, but I actually do appreciate the screws. It gives a nice tighter feel. So as soon as we get the top off, interestingly enough, the USB dongle portion is actually separate. So it's actually on the top gasket, which is really cool. I actually do appreciate that they put the time to make that so that you get a USB dongle space on the keyboard. So now that we're going to take it out and see what they did to build this keyboard. So it is gasket mounted. You see the socks on the PCB plate, and of course you're going to have it connected with 2 3000 milliamp hour batteries to make a 6000. Just note that ribbon cable is really hard to take off. The PCB portion, very easy to remove from the bottom case. So keep that in mind when you're actually opening these up and you want to take off that cable. So it's 2 3000 milliamp hour batteries, and you get the portion where it's going to connect to the PCB, have the USB port, and give you the little switches to be able to turn for Bluetooth, 2.4 gigahertz, and more. So let's take a look at how this is built and what kind of foam is used. So as you can see, it's going to have the PCB foam on the bottom, which is really tightly taped on. And sorry, it's a little bit blurry, guys. We have the PCB, the plate foam, and the PC plate. Now, that portion, guys, as you can see, it is incredibly taped on.
it's going to be really, really, really difficult to take off. That's something you will have to note. Doing a tape mod on this is going to be almost impossible. And as you can see, the spacebar switch has changed just because I felt the gray tactile spacebar was just way too loud. It's just clicking too much, way too loud for me. So now that we actually have it opened, we're going to actually do a little modification to it to see if we can make it sound just a little bit quieter, or what we can do to make it sound nicer. Now, one thing, as I said, I like and appreciate screw in cases because you have a little bit more play in terms of being able to modify the keyboard, just because the screws will actually keep it in place. Though again, you don't want it too tight because you don't want to mess up the PCB, as well as you do not want to damage the screws, because if there's too much pressure on them, it's not going to do any good. So I'm going to cut this out just so I don't cover where the cables are. Reason being, I want to make sure that there's enough room for the cables and not bend it too much more than needed. So very simple mod, right? We're just adding the sound dampener on the bottom. We're going to put it all together, and then we're going to do a sound test, see what it sounds like, see if a modification is necessary. One thing to note as well, I didn't catch it in here, but where the LED lighting is on the bottom of the case, where by the arrow keys, there is a silicone that goes in there. So make sure you put that back in if you do open this up to modify it. So let's go do a modified sound test before going to the review. So now going into a review of this keyboard, I actually really like the design of this keyboard. It's super clean. I think Yunzii did a great job of making a really nicely clean aluminum keyboard that feels quality and is not too expensive either, at about 120 USD right now on sale. Let's actually look at their software. So this time around, the AL75 actually comes with its own software. So if you go onto the Yunzii's website, look into their softwares, you can see what is available. So the website software doesn't work for me, so I download the one for Windows, and then we're going to actually get it running. One thing to note, when you try running the software, Windows may give you a warning to not run this, but to have the software working, you're going to have to. And again, another note, this is only for Windows, does not work on Mac, only Windows. Now the software is quite simple. There's nothing special about this, just gives you very bare minimum things like lighting, button settings, and some macro management. They didn't make this software too crazy. This is literally just the bare basic thing that you can use to be able to test and do some different changes to the lighting of your keyboard. And if you want to change the different keys for different things, it is nice though that you're able to change the dormancy set so it doesn't just fall asleep, as well as change the polling rate of the keyboard, but the max will be 1000 Hertz. In my honest opinion, the software is not amazing. It is really just bare simple software. I think it would have been nice if this worked also with VIA and allowed people to just have one software that works with many different boards. So let's get into more in depth of my review of the AL75 from Yunzii. And again, thank you Yunzii for sending me this keyboard. I wanted to try out a tactile switch this time around. As I've mentioned before, I'm actually looking more at tactile switches and being able to try many different kinds. This specific one was nice actually. It is smooth. It does feel good. The only thing is it is a bit loud. It is on the clackier side of switches, which is not my favorite, to be honest. I personally like it to be a little bit more quieter and thockier. As I pointed out, make sure you put in the silicone. I accidentally removed it, and I ended up putting it back in later. Now, one thing again, I do wish more companies would stick with having the switches change for Windows, Mac, Bluetooth 2.4 gigahertz on the outside of the keyboard instead of behind a keycap on the PCB, and have space to add a USB dongle. This is something that I wish more companies would do, and to stop doing the thing where it's USB dongle separate and the switch to turn on the wireless to be on the PCB itself. This keyboard, guys, does look really clean. I did enjoy using it. For gaming purposes, tactile switches, honestly, I find it just too hard to use for gaming myself. I'm way too used to linear, and the things that I like to do with gaming, especially playing Apex Legends, just tactile doesn't work for me. This keyboard is light though, so if you're looking for a keyboard around the $100 range, right now on sale for 120 USD, and you don't mind it being a little bit loud side, or you can modify it like I did and quiet it down a bit, I think this is a nice grab. Of course, at $120, it is a little bit on the pricier side, especially with nowadays a lot of boards coming out about 100 USD, but it is super nice. I think it's super clean, and it's not too heavy to carry around if you want to do more carrying around with this keyboard. So that is my honest opinion, but of course there's so many 75% keyboards out there, and I'm hoping that Yunzii actually brings out something even cooler soon, because this is really nice. I really can't emphasize how clean this looks. Like, I really love how clean it is.
Let me know down below in the comments, what do you guys think of the AL75? Now, this is Yunzii's budget aluminum keyboard, and my goodness, I gotta say, it does look very clean and sleek. It is a nice keyboard, and I mean, the tactile switches are on the loud side for me, but you know what? I did actually enjoy using them. Definitely hard to game with, but still fun. And you know what, guys? You can get this keyboard for 97 USD. You can always check out the links below in the description. I always have the links below there, so you guys can take a look. And you know what? I would say there's so many different 75% keyboards out there, but this is a really nice lightweight version that I think could work if you're looking for something that's a little bit more portable and thin. So make sure to take a look and leave a comment below, and check out the other videos that I have